To another part of the country, and Alhassan Zakaria always spent time at the mechanic workshop, even on weekends. Since Monday, however, he has had to stay at home in compliance with the lockdown of Greater Kumasi. Alhassan shares his story on life under lockdown with my colleague Mahmoud Mohammed Muruddin.
On day 2 of the lockdown, streets were strangely empty. In this residential area, families have gathered under this mango tree as they observe the lockdown. Men are resting as the women, as usual, cook for them. Many people are at home and everything here appears to have grounded. Here is 46-year-old Alhassan. Alhassan has a big family to cater for, but he is compelled to stay at home. I don't usually go to work on Sunday, but sometimes I go when I have a lot of customers to attend to. Government says the lockdown will be reviewed after 2 weeks, but this will depend on how the Ghanaian public conducts itself.
Because
we are looking up to God for the next 2 weeks.
The pressure by upon all say me wo almost 15.
When government announced the lockdown, I had to ask all my workers to go home, and that came at a cost.
I was saying to me, spending scar, send me more bia lorife, no kuna busia for.
The next 2 weeks will be an enormous challenge, never before in the life of many Ghanaians.
It depends.
We could make at least 500 cedis each day, sometimes even more than that.
Oh, not less than 500.
Government's resilience in fighting COVID-19 is clear, and the lockdown is one of the effective steps approved by World Health Organization. Until review of the lockdown, Alhassan and his family have no choice but to comply with the directive. We have always been praying for God's intervention. It should be a concern to all of us if an outbreak could prevent us from going to our prayer centers. A report by Mahmoud Mohammed Muruddin.
Now, still on COVID-19, samples of staff of the Tamale Teaching Hospital who came into contact with 10 coronavirus patients in Tamale have tested negative. Public Relations Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Mohammed Misbor, who confirmed this to Joy News, said the results were received yesterday. But contrary to the health workers who now know their status, the police officer who first came into contact with the patients is yet to be tested. Speaking from their hotel room in Tamale, one of the officers told Joy News their samples are yet to be picked, and that is a worry to all of them. Martina Bugri joins us with more. Martina, I'm sure these health workers must be relieved.
Yes, when I spoke to the public relations officer this morning, he said they are excited. I mean, the results came back negative, and so they are excited about the outcome. But I also spoke to some of the police officers, about 8 of them who are currently in quarantine, and they say that they are yet to have their blood samples taken and tested, and they are very worried. They say the earlier you know your status and begin treatment, the better for them, and that alone is having an effect on them. I asked whether they have relayed this concern to their superiors and what have they been telling them. And they said they have relayed it to them, and they keep promising them they would come each day and take the samples. And up till now, nothing has been done yet.
So they don't know why their samples have not been taken yet?
they don't know why. They don't know. They haven't been told why they are not taking their samples, but they just keep assuring them that they would come and pick it, and that is not being done.
So they are currently under self-isolation?
Yeah, that's the case.
Thank you very much, Martina. We'll come back when we know more. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the minority in Parliament is raising red flags over the appointment of the Board of Trustees for the National COVID-19 Trust Fund. My colleague, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, joins us with more. Joe, what more can you report on this development?
So, last night, the Attorney General laid the National Trust Fund, COVID-19 National Trust Fund bill before Parliament. And that's the document that, when approved, will give legal backing to the establishment of the fund. And it's been referred to the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee. They just presented a report determining that it's of urgent nature, so they can rush and possibly get it approved later today. But even as that bit of it, Bernard Ahiafo, who is a member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, pointed out that there's a clause in that particular bill that provides for the appointment of Board of Trustees for the fund. And so he doesn't understand why the president last weekend announced, was the chairperson, and announced a number of other members when Parliament has not approved the legal document on that. But the leadership indicated that this is something that they will debate later in the day when the committee returns with its substantive report. But even the speaker tried to put an explanation on what the president had done. And Professor Michael Kwe says what the president did by announcing the Board of Trustees was just an expression of intention and not exactly a full appointment.
We also understand the minority in Parliament has described as inadequate the efforts being put in place by government to fight the coronavirus pandemic.
Specifically, you recall that last night, an amount of $35 million, which is a World Bank loan, in order to support government's $30 million emergency response process. And from the details that came out of that $35 million, an amount of $700,000 will be invested in cash transfers to patients of coronavirus and their families, and also to provide food for them and to take care of their medical bills. Deputy Minority Leader James Aveti, addressing the media a while ago, said that he thought the amount is very much small compared to how much government is raising, and that in terms of those who are suffering from the disease, more money should have been invested in their uptake and also care for them.
Thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, for those updates. Now, the International Central Gospel Church, ICGC, has contributed 100,000 Ghana cedis to the COVID-19 National Trust Fund. 3 members of the Presbytery of the Church, Prophet Christopher Yao Ano, Reverend Anthony Kujo, and Reverend Morris Apia, presented the check to the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, Madame Akosia Frema-Osei-Opare, at a brief ceremony at Jubilee House today, the 2nd of April 2020. Reverend Morris Apia, speaking on behalf of his colleagues, said the General Overseer of ICGC, the Presbytery, and the entire membership of the church said the contribution is to support government's efforts targeted at stopping any further spread of COVID-19 within the shores of Ghana and providing relief for the needy and vulnerable of society. Chief of Staff Madame Akosia Frema-Osei-Opare received the check on behalf of government and thanked the church for the gesture. She encouraged the citizenry to remain strong and adhere to the movement's restrictions imposed by the president. Leader of the team from the church, Prophet Christopher Yao Ano, shared a word of prayer with the Chief of Staff and her entire office.